Hi and welcome, Lisa here for Imagine Crafts. Thanks for joining me. So in this video, I'm sharing fun backgrounds created with Memento dye inks and embossing folders. Now, I know this is an old technique, but it's worth revisiting in my opinion because I have some fun tips to share with you to make it new again. I have a few everyday embossing folders here. I'm going to be using these to create Halloween backgrounds, and by the time we reach the end of the video, we'll have 4 completed cards. Here I have 5 of embossing folders. Now I won't be using all of these, but I did want to show you that you can use any folders you have on hand. Now I'll have a chevron pattern, a diamond pattern, and my favorite is this pattern made up of numbers randomly placed and sized. So to get started, I've done some masking and I masked off rows of diamonds on my embossing folder so I could use multiple inks to ink it up and then run it through my die cut machine. Now, you could do this with a brayer, but just know it won't be the same because you won't end up with that gorgeous embossing you get when you're running this through your manual or electric machine. Here, I'm just using Avery L repositionable labels to mask off the rows of diamonds. And I'm going to use gray flannel ink directly to my ink pad. So I just directly to my embossing folder. I just lay that ink pad down and rub it back and forth to add the ink. Now, if you're not crazy about that streaky look with your ink, once you have some ink down, just dab your pad up and down like you're inking up a stamp and it'll get rid of those streaks. Now, I like the streaks. I like the texture that it adds to the cards. And you can really see that here on this background that I did. Now, this I kept real simple and I just inked up the whole embossing folder with the gray ink and then just embossed the whole thing. But I'm going to show you how to take it up a notch. I'm going to take my Pear Tart ink and I'm going to go over the embossed areas. Now, I'm being very light with this. You can see how some areas are picking that ink up, some areas not so much. That's okay. Remember, these are Halloween backgrounds. If they look distressed, vintage, creepy, that's good. That's what we want. I'm just going to continue going over those with that Pear Tart until I'm happy with it. Since we're using Memento inks, we can bring our Copic markers in and add some fun touches to the background. I thought, what would be really fun with this is if we went over all the 3s and the 1s on this background with a black marker. So that's just going to pull that out and add another fun touch to this. So I decided the 3s and the 1s since October 31st, or some people might think an unlucky 13. I just have fun with them, whatever you can do to add an extra touch. So on the diamond pattern, I decided I wanted a little bit more added to this. So I'm coming in with some gold ink and I'm just lightly building that ink up on the panel. Now, I liked that so much that I decided I would go over the other panels as well. Panel here I created off screen, but it was done exactly like the gray panel where I just inked up the whole embossing folder with green or with Pear Tart ink and ran it through my die cut machine, and then I colored those numbers with my black Copic marker. Again, I'm just lightly going over the numbers with my gold shimmer ink here, and again, it's just adding this fun vintage feel to the panels. On the green background, I ended up going over that with my Tangelo ink pad to take the rest of the numbers and color those in some. I didn't color them completely in, but I did add some orange to those embossed numbers. I thought I would do a black and white background to keep it real simple for you, but things did not work out that way. And that happens in the craft room. So let's figure out what to do with this when things don't work out the way we want them to. So you can see there some of the black ink smudged in the embossed areas. Just grab you some more colors and go over these. So what I'm doing is taking my grape jelly ink and just rubbing it across the embossed areas. I'm using Pear, Tart, and Tangelo as well. These are great traditional Halloween colors, and it's the perfect way to cover up those little boo-boos that you can sometimes end up with, and then you're not throwing away a whole panel that you've already embossed. Here are 3 of the panels done. Now this panel here, I'm not finished with it yet. I'm not happy. I'm like, there's something else needs to take place here. So I'm going to use my Tuxedo black ink and I'm going to go over the panel. And I'm being very light with the pressure on this, as you can tell. I don't want to cover the whole thing up with black. I want to leave some of that gold ink showing through on the embossed areas. I'm just being real light with my pressure. And I also don't want to mess up the colors, the purple, the green, the orange, and grays, by pressing too hard and ending up with black ink in those areas. But you can see by adding that black ink, it completely changed the way that this background looked. And this ends up being my favorite background. In fact, I love it so much, I don't want to cover it up. To wrap up our cards, what I did was I kept it real simple. I did some die cutting with some iconic silhouettes for Halloween. I have 3 witches on this card here, and I ran that chevron pattern through my die cut machine with a die cut to do the spooky trees, and then I die cut 3 witches to go behind that, so it looks like you have a whole grouping of witches in the woods there. Now, I tried lots of different colors. I tried grape, cardstock, I tried all kinds of colors, and honestly, the only thing that worked for me was the white, so that's what I went with. Now, here you see me working with my sentiment strips, and all I did was take Happy Halloween sentiment and Trick or Treat. I stamped those with Versamark ink and heat embossed them with white embossing powder. Trimmed them down to a sentiment strip with my paper trimmer. Kept it real simple. So I'm using black foam adhesives to add these to the cards, since I'm using black cardstock. So here I'm just going to place the Trick or Treat right beneath my Frank. I absolutely love this guy. He's amazing. Now you see the purple ones over here to the right. What I did with that was I took a piece of white cardstock and ran my grape jelly ink pad over the cardstock. And you can tell that some areas it just took the ink right away, and then other areas kind of it skipped over, gives it this distressed look. And I went with it. I cut 3 of those Franks out and put him walking right on across that card and added my sentiment strip right beneath there, and we're done with that. Now this is my favorite background out of the 4 that I've done, and I'm just trimming down my sentiment strip with my scissors, and I'm going to add my foam adhesives to the back and then place this on the lower right third of the card. Because like I said, I tried several different things. I did some ghost, I did Frank, I did a zombie, I just did all kinds of things, and I just did not want to cover up this background. I ended up saying, you know what, we're just going to do the sentiment in the bottom right corner and we'll call it done with this one. However, I do come in and I add some enamel dots to the cards that have Frankenstein on them. And then this card and the card with the witch, I actually end up adding some little gem stickers to that, just to add a fun little touch to it. Apparently, I am all about the fun little touches today. So, sorry you had to hear that so many times. All right, if you have any questions, you know you can leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope you'll click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of new content to the channel. Remember, all the products I used are linked directly below in the description box. For more information on the inks I used, you can head over to the Imagine Crafts website. And until next time, take care and keep crafting.